all apart. They don't look great, but they don't look bad. Although it is cut right here, apparently. These are the torsion bar bushings, and I told you we weren't going to get them at first. Well, I don't think it's worth at this point. It's together. It's not like falling out. Like I said, it's torn. You know, don't know how much that affects. There's another bushing here. Unfortunately, the pair of these bushings and the pair of these bushings are 200 and 200. Maybe Advanced Auto looks like they're the main ones that have them. And I gather you could put a 15% coupon on it in there, but it's still like a big fucking nut. This hose looks like it was changed, but if you remember, I think I kind of remember seeing this that time. This is a disaster. The brake lines. They're actually not too bad. Like they're fine up to here. You know, just basically we're coming out of the gate there. And this side, you got. This is probably the original hose, so you have changed on one side, not on the other. But the date on the other one's 2010 when it was changed. I mean, and there's a. I actually. This was all. Lots of rustiness. A good pressure washer, like a really good pressure washer, not an electric one, like one that you rent, like a 1,500 pounds per square inch one at least, and really nail everything. You probably get a lot of this rust off. This side is not cracked. This ended up falling out of the car because I had unbolted everything because I wasn't even sure what I was doing. If you remember, I told you like I never did it on this type of car. This is like a different animal, this Mopar. So, you know, but then I looked at the parts and I kept looking and I saw you have motor mounts, transmission mount, you have the U-joints. And when I go down to look at the motor mount, I'm like, you know, there's just the driver's side one. And I'm like, motor mount's pretty shot. It's all sagging. It's not even centered. The thing is, I started looking at all the AC stuff, and I found a lot of it. I found everything. I did not find the bracket, though, the most important thing. So unless you have it with the compressor, you know, this was sealed. I'm pretty sure I just opened this. Or maybe not. Maybe you opened it. I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, it's only the compressor in here. It's inside the box. Yeah, that was sealed. Don't know where the bracket is. So they had them $37.97. I could have got it for $20 to $25 on, you know, plus tax online, but this was good because I can get more done instead of waiting another 3 days. So here I got a bunch of 3/16. I know it may not look like much, but I figured I could work with all this stuff. And the guy's like, I have a $20 minimum, and his father wasn't there. He's like, do you need a receipt? I was like, no. He's like, I just give you all this for $20. So I just handed him $20, and it was all good. So unfortunately, I could not find the seal anywhere separately, and I had to buy the whole kit from that same place. So unfortunately, they charge you. It would have been $23 delivered if I paid more for shipping. It was $35 basically for this. It's kind of a rip-off, but I could have got it in another couple of days if I paid like 24 plus tax. So it's not really terribly that much more. So again, it's the same situation, unfortunately. So I don't know. I can't remember what I said I was gonna. I pretty much spent a little over 100, I guess. Just wanted you to know that I had you buy the wrong ones. I remember they all said 29 millimeter. I was wondering what one says without 29 millimeter. So I ordered from the auto parts store, Parts Garden, and they will get it to me tomorrow. And I only had you order one of these. I don't see another box. It's supposed to be two of these, the K7087. So I had them order that as well. I don't see it in any of these boxes, so I think that's about it. Just want to let you know of expenses that. Not a big deal. All right. Bye. So this is my progress on the AC for the Volare. Going to relocate this gas line a little bit better. Right now I have this piece in, just wedged in there. There's a little piece going in the back there that it technically could swivel, so it kind of has to be secured somehow there. It would be fine if I can put another bracket in front of this and come around and this guy slips out, because I'd rather have that one come out. But I definitely had a problem with the belt hitting here, and then it would get close to the water pump. So it was funny because I just had put this on just to see. I go, oh, wait a minute, I just get a double water pump pulley and that'll solve it. So it's going to work out good where it's going to go in the front pulley here. And I just ordered one, and so that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to have some kind of turnbuckle. It's going to tighten it, which would make it easy, as opposed to like a swooping curved thing that you try to tighten. It just never works out well. And I did something like that on the 40 Buick with this style of compressor. So I'm going to put something in between here where a bolt is like a T and you tighten a nut, or there's a hole here, whether I weld it up or whatever, like you have a bolt thing with a hole where the bolt goes through to here, and you can tighten it on, like I put a welded nut behind there, and then you tighten it. The thing is like where I have it now, I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't interfere with this. Worst case scenario, we can cut off this little guy, the one of these ears on the bottom there. But it goes down that far and comes up this high, which is plenty. But is the one thing about having it a little bit lower is that, to me, this could be tighter, but this could be tighter, and this is kind of the loosest part. So I'm not sure yet until I get a belt that fits properly with the water pump pulley, and then I'll have a better idea as far as the bracket is concerned. It's just 3/16 steel. This is flat, and you see all these little bends I was making in it because they all had to go. And in hindsight, I may have not though. This is a welded nut on the for the power steering pump pulley. The bolt comes out from the back, so it's not really an issue. But I was thinking about welding around, a heavy washer or something like that, and just giving a nut just to give it a little more stability on this side of the bracket instead of totally devoting it to the water pump. I zoomed in. Let me show you again. Okay, so instead of these two bolts, I was thinking about putting a welding. Come on, phone. So I was thinking about welding a nut. Let me try this again. Uh, try about welding a washer around there, and then putting a nut on it just to help stabilize the bottom of the pulley here. Not sure if I'll cut this off. It all depends. If I need it to go over more, I don't know if this is going to be more or less. Ultimately, I want it to be like tight in that relative position. I don't know if this is going to make it, because it's going down and as well as it's going away. So it may not change. That's the only thing I worry about. So, but ultimately, if this guy gets welded in, I don't know the kind of angle I would need yet. Because this is a weird angle here. If I tighten it and it rotated, would it pull it? It all depends, like if I have this thing, a turnbuckle with a welded nut behind there, let's say, and I tighten it up, how would that work? I got to weld that to that bracket for sure. just don't know about that guy right there. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing yet. Um, yeah, so I got some spacers in here. I'm going to use, I'm utilizing the other power steering bolt, put a longer bolt in there. I'm going to put a different bolt, but that's like an inch and a half spacer roughly. This might be a little funny, this bracket, but it's not bent or anything like that. It just looks a little funny, but no, it looks straight on the camera. It looks straight. So that's like an inch and a half spacer there. Maybe you have to throw in an extra washer, but it should be able to be removed relatively easy. And all in all, I think it should be pretty pretty easy to remove this, to whether get it out of the way to do something else or to, you know, yeah, basically that, is to service it, And if the two hoses are both over here, maybe it can be both, moved over, that kind of thing. So um, it can get a little funny with this stuff sometimes, but sometimes you got to commit to letting the Freon out if you do anything like this. But ultimately, for somebody, for they make like a $500 bracket, and it's more than that even. And there's all this newer, updated stuff with the sanded and stuff. It's a lot better. So I'm gonna have to find a place for the receiver dryer, which a lot of Mopars have it like right here, and that makes kind of a lot of sense at this point. Which also may alter how I mount it, but I have a lot more room here than I thought, and this could have been even bigger. They're awfully thick though, so and it's a better style. It's the fins as opposed to the tubes, but it is what it is. The radiator is only so big, although I don't think they sell the small radiator for these Mopars anymore, because I had the same problem with my Dart, my Valiant, I should say, where I got the bigger one and I had to play with the AC hoses and stuff. The AC hoses. All right, so I welded this all together. It's much stronger. And then I made this. This is basically a bolt that's all threads. It's a weaker bolt for that matter. But we see what I did. I got two rod extensions, and I welded them together, and I have nuts to hold them. And this makes it adjustable because sometimes when you pull on a bracket, you find that the front of the compressor or whatever the item is, it pulls more to one side than the other. So sometimes you have to, because you know what it is, you're offsetting this. So it's in the center right now, but I can adjust it all the way forward because this might be the center of gravity. So this is the only thing I have to work out. Like this thing here is going to rotate, and then you lock this down to make it tighter. But ultimately, this would be the adjustment, and then I'll have a nut on either side to hold it, and I'm probably going to weld like a much larger acorn nut, but it all depends on a few factors. Where it wants to pull first. I may make it so that it can be somewhat adjustable, or I make the acorn nut welded onto a flat steel piece that can be kind of clamped or held in place somehow. So this gives the range of motion when you're trying to, obviously it's got to go like that now that I think about it, but either way, it's not so much that this is still going to stay, I think, in one place. It's just got to be able to contact and then come back to here. These are not the greatest quality bolts, but they kind of like will wear in, Let's tighten. And but this is the gist of it. I had to get this done first before I can really figure. And I welded this at an angle because I just thought it would be better. But I can put a flat piece if it ends up being a flat piece is better. I might put a flat piece where this whole, you understand, if I go like this and weld a flat piece all across, it may have a pocket then to stay in anywhere anywhere it needs to go. So that might be the way, to go. Put a small piece of angle iron there so that the angle iron comes up and the angle iron is supportive, but you can just picture an angle iron being there, and then this contacts wherever it needs to contact along the whole surface there. So that's another thing. I was still thinking about putting like an acorn nut, make it put the right size acorn nut with the groove. That way the acorn nut kind of slides and it doesn't bind and want to go sideways. So that acorn nut is still a thing in my head, whether I would do the original idea or not. But this leaves it all to be adjusted to where you need to go. And to me, that's going to be bulletproof, and it makes it a lot easier to adjust, because the last thing you want to do is have a hard time adjusting it. So until I figure out the size belt, and obviously I got to get the pulley in. This is going to be on the back burner while I put together the front end and do some other work to this car. All right, quick update. Two little wiggles and it's busted. Trying to take off the line. It's unscrewed it from the proportioning valve. Front end is all in. No tricks, no funny stuff. Everything went pretty well. It's a little hard getting the sway bar. Yeah, I didn't realize it goes through the chassis with another sway bar end link bushing, similar to a shock bushing. I did the motor mounts. The passenger side one is a little bit of a bitch, but when you jack it up and you get the long bolt out, you have room with a little ratchet, with the 3/8 ratchet to get the 5/8, the 2 5/8 bolts out. Obviously, this side is super easy, and that's that. I'm gonna finish taking out these two front lines. Don't know if I'll change the rears. It depends on the shape that they're in. The rear line, I should say. The lines coming off the Master, they're not bad. At least I don't think so. I got a clip here. I got this type of clip, plastic clip. I don't know how that's gonna get back in there, but we'll see. And hopefully, if the rear is okay, I'm gonna leave it. What else? So far, so good. And I gotta wait for parts. Ends up being the sway bar bushings. There's only 2 listings for these cars, and one of them is 1 1/8, which is 29 millimeter according to them. This is the bigger one. And then I bought another kit. I think I shoved it back in the box, but it says for sway bar bushings that are not 29 millimeter. Well, it's basically like 24 millimeter, and it doesn't say what it is. So out of hunch, because the one that was too big, it was K7108. I just decided to go, to put in Rock Auto K7109, and boom, it's the exact same setup, and it said in the thing, because it was Moog, it said 1 inch. So I'm like, oh, that's the one. It's all the time with old cars, they lose some applications for certain parts and never to be found again. So that's a good thing to remember for these cars. If you got a 1 inch sway bar, it's a K7109. All right, that's pretty much it for today, other than taking out that other line too. Well, I thought this was going to be straightforward, but I figured I might as well make another video on this. Lines are terrible, yeah. 3/8 bolt, 3/8 lag screw, 3/8 lag screw. Phillips. This one I'm trying to get it out of the clip. This one here had another one of these guys, but it was on the, this is where the blower motor, whatever, the heater box is connected. And now this thing just slides out, but it ain't really sliding out. The whole thing's bending. I go over there. There's another. That's another screw, and it's not just a Phillips head screw. It is actually, it's a drill tip screw. Of course, that's a rotted drill tip screw, but it might have moved. Yeah, this was the nut that was holding on to that other. I mean, that's kind of stupid to put the brake line there. I mean, all these different sizes. I don't understand. Even the other side, it had a black plastic Huya that was holding it, and one screw. These are the regular legs. They're okay, but they all should have been the same damn size. At the very worst case scenario, have a 5/16 head on this. You know how hard it is to get these off. My hands hurt too, so that was an issue. But yeah, that's another Phillips. I'm like, it's behind the intake. I'm like, what a pain in the neck. Oh, maybe I'll save it for tomorrow. But it's almost out. It's really just that clip and one more screw. I think it's just. And look at that. Is that a push-in clip or is it? It's a leaf. I don't know what this. Oh, build date something or other. I think. Yeah, that's the line. It goes under there. Is that a? Oh yeah, that's a clip right there. I don't know if that's just a holding clip. I don't think there's no bolts there. What a pain in the neck. All different stuff. Kind of weird. All right, that's gonna be it for today. Well, that took a lot longer than I fucking expected. Wow, and this doesn't look anything remotely like it. I had to bend it so much. It was caught on both sides of this. It had to go under the vacuum hoses. I had to unplug this. I had to unplug this. Unplug that. Got to be an easier way. I think I'm gonna do it in 2 pieces. Because it's not feasible to service it, and that way you can service one line or the other. But I'm putting that never rust stuff. But just to run it all one line is going to be tough. There's just too many bends. Especially around that proportioning valve. It was hooking around, and it goes up and around and under there and behind the proportioning valve. And it just doesn't come straight out, like I can make a small piece going up to here and then maybe the rest one piece, but it's kind of stupid. Truthfully, it could go the other way and it would be a lot easier because it was under that other line, under the mountain. It goes from underneath and it goes on top, so it'd be much easier to go on the bottom and go straight to the firewall. I don't see why that's a problem, but wow, what a pain. All right, at least I got it out. All right, this was crazy because I got this channel piece, like I was saying, and I put this acorn nut on this. So no matter where I'm going with this, let me hold it between my knees. What happens is I welded it and it got tighter, so I had to kind of massage it and force it in, and then bolted it on, and then I grinded a little bit off. So it's definitely back to where it was for the most part. Hang on a second. So ultimately, I realized I got to grind over here. It really depends. I don't have to do it now, but it only goes that far, which is what I was always doing. So I thought when I was going back here, I thought it was interfering here because it was touching here at the same time. So I relieved all of this, and I'm like, okay, I might as well make it so it can all go all the way. And then I realize it's touching there. So where this side, as you can see, this goes 90 degrees to this, I need to do something similar. And apparently this thing here, it's going to make it a lot weaker. So I got to be careful how much I take off. I was kind of going crazy, because I'm like, this is it's way more strong than it needs to be. Obviously I'm not an engineer or whatever. I'm not a machinist that does everything perfectly. Now, my welder decided to spit like crazy. And every time I wear a mask, I can't see shit. And I go all over the place. And I'm spitting like crazy. I grind all this, but then I just ended up welding everything because I kept have all these weird welds. I'm just going to probably cover it with epoxy to make it look better. But you see where I'm getting at. No matter where it is, it'll moan. Going the other way, and if I grind that thing a little bit more, that's I can get a little more length out of it. But then I would technically need a longer bolt, and might need the longer bolt anyway. But just to give you an idea. Yeah, in the end, it's a little hard to spin with your fingers. What am I doing? So, see, I just pushed on that, and that's all the way. So that's a good swing, I think, and ultimately I can put a longer bolt, accompany it with grinding that so it relieves it more, because it's obviously hitting there. And this is definitely looking like it's on its way. The fucking welder, I don't know, I think because I had it bound up here, it was kind of making noises, but ultimately my idea looks pretty solid. Next time I would do this, I would tack weld it in place with it bolted in. I didn't do that, and it kind of shrunk, and I had a hard time getting it in. So, but so far so good, looking good. All right, that's one line ready to go. Goes to the proportion valve. I got all the original places. This will be conformed a little bit more once I get it in. I did the other one exactly the way it was routed, which was a real pain in the ass. But I got it, and I did it all one length. And can you believe? Like this side, I put an extra foot. I lost a foot of line right here. I'm like, I can't believe it. I actually did it a little too short, because I remember now, it was kind of stupid. It rolled off here without any clamps. The nearest clamp is this one right here, which is fine. And I upgraded them to a hex so you can actually fucking tighten them. But there's a hole here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So I tried to put it in there, and I realized I made it short. So I decided to just get a little inventive, and I did it here, and it just goes straight inside there. And this guy ended up having to be a little short. I can't believe I did that, but I did it. But it's fine, We're not getting any points at the car show, so waiting for the brake hoses still. But front brake lines are done. Being that I've had the car fall off the jacks at least 2 times, I don't think I should jack up the rear, because I get to do the shocks in the rear. I can check the brake lines in the rear. I can remove the drive shaft, do the transmission mount. There's a bunch of things I can do. In lieu of throwing the rotors on and put the tire, even if I didn't do it right, I just threw it on and put the tires on. That would be the only other thing. It's either that or I just try to jack it up more in the front. Maybe I'll try something, one side at a time. I've had the shit fall already. Over here, though, there's a little more rocks, but still, it's, it's not a fun thing, But I can't believe I'm getting all this accomplished. It seems like I've been on slow motion for months, and I got a lot done in a short amount of time. This is, I epoxy this. I'm going to sand down this epoxy, put it on both sides because the welds look horrible, but it's strong. Still got to grind away this piece here, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bother until the end because I may not need that much adjustment. You know, like this may end up being it may be very close to hitting the power steering pump as it is. So it can't go that far down. You know, I gather if I had to do it again, um, this bracket might be taller to make sure of that. I was trying to make it nice and tucked, but if I just, it's all the way down here. I could have made it all the way up here and it would have been fine. And I didn't even think about it. You know, I thought tighter was better, but it's a little on the close side to that. Not that it's a huge issue. Hopefully, it doesn't affect. If I can get, I know it doesn't affect it if I can get it more towards this way, but obviously all the way over, you can't get the cap off. Yeah, so it's looking good. Things are going good. I have to figure out what size belt I'm probably going to need. So that's another step, but I could probably do that. I could put this whole thing back on and see how it fits now that I've welded it and whatnot, and take it from there. You know, but I can't believe I did this line all in one line, and this guy too. So we'll see about the rear when I get to it. I have an emergency job to do tomorrow, unrelated to cars, and really was not looking forward to that. You know, some people you do work for, you have to run when they call you. So it's all good. I also got a set of priority mail in the evening, and frustrating and so I'll pay up to. Yeah, I guess a new problem here is I'm seeing a drip now after messing around here. See, so this is not a good thing. So that little motor, something happened to it. I mean, it's not like I hit it or anything. I don't know how that started leaking, but it wasn't. I don't think it was leaking yesterday, unless this thing was full, because it's almost empty, and it really didn't leak that much today, as far as I can tell. But it might have been leaking for a while, or I have a feeling it leaked when I touched it. But hopefully, I know those motors are probably expensive, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you can shove silicone in there or something like that to make it better. Alrighty, I'll see how long I make this video before I make a third part. But again, so far so good. Things going pretty well, I must say. All right, so I did more work. I did relieve that a little bit. I could do more, obviously. That's as far as going to go. But this part was hitting right here. So I smoothed this out. This was like a 90-degree angle, and then I smoothed it to like a 45. And I don't see any need to go any further, to be honest, because that's a lot of adjustment now. So that'll be fine. And like I said, it gets to a point where it's going to end up hitting the power steering pump anyways. So I don't see it being an issue. So I think this is kind of done. I smoothed this out a little bit, my shitty epoxy job, but it looked better than the welds. But I must say, that is pretty kick-ass, the whole contraption part of it. Like I said, though, I think I may have to go with a 6-inch one. I'm probably just going to do that because I literally can't reach it now, especially with these extra stops. I probably don't need to have a stop over here. Probably only need to put the one here against itself because you're tightening it in, it's pushing that way. If you tighten it against this, it should be fine. But if it's long enough, I guess it's not an issue. So I don't remember now which one is this, because I had a small this one, yeah, the one that's all threads. I'm using it for this one. This was a 5-inch one, and I think this is 5.5. Yeah. So if I went 6 inches, and if the thread is there, yeah, that's 5.5. So 6 inches will at very least make up for this. And it's not like it's going to stick up that much further, you know, because it's so low. If it sticks up an inch past it is what it is. But, you know, I may not even need this, and I'll get the extra length that I need by only leaving on one. It's got to take apart the whole thing again, but does it actually hit? It's all the way. I think it kind of, just shy. Yeah, it's not going to need to go that far. So this might be fine, even with both nuts in there. I just figured tightening both nuts makes it a little stronger, you know. So, and like I said, depends how it pulls on the bracket. I'm thinking it's going to pull pretty even, but because of the way it's situated, it may need to be pulled more in the front. You'll find that like when you have pulleys that you kind of muscle yourself, you kind of favor the front to because you want to make sure that you don't make the belt look a little funny. So I may need to move this over. I have it set up perfectly just for that. So you know, this might need to be like here ish. So the center might grab better from there. But this is pretty kick-ass, I must say. Ah, geez. Houston, we have a problem. Let's see. You know, like that. Let's see. Yeah, so I was playing with this old alternator belt, and just I was gonna say, yeah, let me see how long I need. And my problem is obviously I don't have it, you know, 'cause we don't have the double pulley yet. I'm just kind of roughing it, overlapping the belt, and I figured I'll take the total length of this belt and reduce it by what I put here in a loop, you know. So trying to put something in a loop here, and you know, sort of kind of get the gist of it, kind of thing. And I don't know what is up with this timing tab, but I don't think it ended up in the same place that it was when I pulled off the balancer. Oh, it's meant to go the other way. That's why. All right. So it's just because it's alternate. It's on the alternate thing. So, okay, Houston, we have a problem. So I'm taking this alternator belt, and I figured I just kind of have it rough over this and over here just to get an idea of how long the belt is. I figured 47 inches would be good. But right now I have it all the way up at the highest point. So the way I have it set up, it pushes it away. My problem is that when I push it away, oops, it actually is getting looser. So I needed to adjust the opposite way. It's working flawlessly. It's just the wrong way. So I was afraid of this, but ultimately I got to come up with something different now. I can probably drill a hole right through it as long as I know where the center is. I was thinking about using the front here and have a turnbuckle fixed it here. Again, it has to swivel to some degree. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. So kind of pissed about that because I had it so good. Now something like that though, it can help stabilize it, and it also can help pull it away, if there was any issue. Um, but obviously, then you have to spin both at the same time. It's really a drag. I'm thinking that I'm gonna cheat it more this way, and then drill holes, drill a slot. I can technically drill a slot and put a stop nut behind it, and maybe a bearing of some sort, or just even a washer. It's only being tightened once in a blue moon, but something like this could be done um, without a lot of problem, and to make some kind of, like I said, groove, in the bottom there, so that what I put, you know, offsets it. But this would have been better, like that groove that I just made, it would have been better on the other side. But there's really there's not much room for that. But the heart is there. That's very unfortunate. So now then again, hang on a second. Hang on a second. If it gets tighter, yeah, but I'm not pulling it. That's right. Yeah. So that's tightening it. Hang on a second. Yeah. There's nothing pulling it back up where it needs to go. So that is definitely an issue. That was such a nice thing I made. It's too bad it's the opposite. I was saying that it seemed a little bit funny, but I didn't think it was going to be that off. And now that I have everything bolted, I'm like, let me try something. And I just wanted to put the belt in cockeyed just to see how it's going to work. And I'm quite bummed now. Um, I may have made something completely different, have a bracket come up this side and have you tighten from this way into that thing. And if this is slotted, then maybe that won't be so bad. Of course, now I put that stupid epoxy there. I'll be welding around it again. Yeah, I got to think about something like that, and not worry about the epoxy at this point. But yeah, I think that wouldn't be so bad. I just don't know if it'd be that convenient as far as tightening it, because it would have to be. Yeah, it would be. Oops. It would be like this. Such a bummer. You put a lot of time and think about it, and then you're like, oh, I forgot an important part. But this is why I'm not an engineer. Oh well. So I was saying how the welder was splattering before, and I barely touched it, and that's what I got. And then it got stuck. So I had to knock off this guy, and there's a piece of ceramic that's being held in by this piece, and this goes into that last piece, and ultimately it was stuck on here. I mean, I've seen worse, but it's definitely getting compromised. And unfortunately, I saw this ceramic was loose, so I tried to tighten this guy down. And I was tightening him, and it was obviously the threads were out. And sure enough, I snapped it off inside the head. But I actually got an easy out, and it actually came out. I'm just shocked about that. So now I got to find these pieces before I can weld again. So take care of your shit. When you have splattering and everything, take a look at it, or just change the damn tip. Don't do what I do. All right, crappy welds, but I don't care anymore. What I did was actually put a new tip inside the thing without the adapter that broke. So it kind of welds, it's pretty strong. You see what I did here? I made this hole here. It's a pretty big hole. And I'm going to put this guy to hold it when I tighten up the bolt. And I can have a ½ inch or at least, a ½ inch. And obviously the hole can be bigger. But this gives a lot of leverage. So I gather I should go across, because then I can go up, down, because it's going to change. The where it holds is going to change, and it'll probably come off a little bit or bind ever so slightly. I don't know if I should put some kind of cushion here that helps with the angle. I don't think it's necessary. Now I'm going to put this in and see how it fits. Alrighty, so this is what I came up with. I actually drilled out this thing, the threads out, because it was binding too much. I cut about an inch off of this. I kind of run out of threads at the end, but it does, it pretty much goes all the way. I mean, it's better that you don't, wedge this all the way up against it. But you can see it changing angles. That's all it goes because the head hits, So, whoops. So even though, like you see, this is technically loose, the weight of the belt should be holding back. Yeah, so when I tighten it, I'm going to be tightening it against the belt. Yeah, so my problem is, though, is the belt going to want to go, see, this might have to be a fixed nut. And then I was thinking maybe I should have, it doesn't really matter if I made this the head of the bolt and everything. It just that everything was getting close over here, and it didn't need to be that long. I wanted something that was going to, actually, adjust it and pull it back. The thing is, though, when it's all the way up here, and you can see how this thing is all the way here, but it doesn't matter because I run out of threads. So in a certain sense, I may have to cut this, but I don't think it's going to matter for this problem that I'm foreseeing. If I'm trying to tighten it, if this way is tightened, and the belt is here, the down is loose. Yeah, if the belt is short enough, it's not going to go in. Yeah, because that'll be all the way tightened. Yeah, okay. Maybe a big return spring would help, but that's really the best I'm going to do. Like, I can't even get maybe I put a lock washer at the top of this, even though there's no threads on this, but yeah, a lock washer would help kind of stabilize it a little bit. But I think that's good. So I got the pulley coming today. It should be coming in the mail, but I gotta go back home for that. So maybe tomorrow I'll come by and just see how this looks. All right, I put this little throttle return spring, just hooked it there, and I hooked it up there. I'm really not expecting too much, but it may help me in the sense. So that's it. I'm bottomed out there, which is pretty much the top. Like it is a hair more to go, but it doesn't need to. And I don't know if I don't think changing anything here. You see the angle gets severe up here, and that's the only thing I'm worried about is that it'll start to bend. But I have kind of a hard feeling, a doubtful feeling about that. Now I can put little triangles that I can weld here, or little spacers here and here, that will help it at this level. So when I unscrew it, it'll fight a little bit, but because we're making it loose, but you see what's happening now? This thing here was kind of flopping around. So it's actually going by itself. Right there, there's not much anymore. You can go push it a little bit. That's all. A stronger spring would help that, But it's interesting, Ultimately, if this thing was higher, it's the metal I had, But and I don't know how much more I could do, but I think it's fair because if it was higher, I gather it'd be better. I still think you have a problem when you get down to here, but then again, down to here almost looks like it's level with this. But going close, it's kind of, this goes right on, that's what it was happening. This thing was hitting this. So yeah, I could cut it, I could do more things, but it kind of, I don't want to take away from the integrity of that, because it needs to be kind of strong, but that bombs out before it even hits. So it's interesting. And like I was saying, I could push it in a little bit more, I think. Oh, not if I. That's interesting. Maybe because the spring was, maybe it was going back. It seems pretty tight. So I don't know what happened there, but it's definitely all weird stuff. But it seems to be working. It really depends how much the belt is going to affect this. You know, in a certain sense, you can even bend this metal, but I don't know how that'll affect it when you go looser. Um, that would be interesting if I just use my mind's eye. It's keeping a lot of the same angle here. I just don't know how the hell I would bend that. You know, I was really looking for strength. You know, and if I put a bend on this, I gather it's not as strong. That's why maybe making little triangles on this, welding little triangles on that piece would help. Um, I'd say it's relatively successful. Um, just trying to think if there's anything else I could do. I mean, the only thing I can do is put a stud in there and have a nut on this side instead. Like I have the thread all the way here. It's funny how I couldn't do this with a bolt before. It just would not work. But yeah, it wouldn't work because it was too long. Yeah. So if you have a stud, you can screw the stud in and then put the nut on the top. And that way you put the stud in to where you think it's going to go, but it may not be enough. But then again, if it's longer, if it comes out to here, then I can unscrew it. But then that's a ridiculously long nut of a stud, whatever. I don't think this is too bad, you know. And just something maybe to make this wedge here when it's the final tightening, you know, something along those lines. Something that can be dropped in maybe to go around it, some kind of little horseshoe, um, you know, basically a wedge, because that would be pretty strong, you know. Yeah, it's an interesting predicament, but it may not be really any issue at all, you know. Just simply wedging a piece of metal in there that was thick enough at the end, you know, right before you do the final tightening, could could help, you know, dramatically, just to not put extra load on the threads, you know. I just think it's always pushing this way, but then again, yeah, if it's pushing that way, it could bend. I don't know. Maybe I could weld two little flat spots here, because you know, this hole that I made bigger here really didn't need to travel that much in there. So yeah, I'm wondering maybe you could weld another piece of metal to this and put it higher instead. So these are all thoughts in my head right now. Let's see what happens. All right, so this is the finished product, but it's really not right in a lot of ways. Like I said, I bought a 46-inch and a 47-inch belt. The 47-inch belt was too loose. And like I said, it was going on by itself here, but I could not get this on. I actually had to take out the pivot bolt to get it on, or obviously I had to take off the fan. So after doing all this, I'm not particularly happy. I had to put a fan spacer in. I had one left, and it came out perfect. You know, that part is really good. But I'm so upset. Number one, I leaned on this and I cracked it. But in any case, I unfortunately was playing with this back and forth now, and it really doesn't tighten much more if I go all the way. It really doesn't change anything too much. And like I said, I had to basically force this on. Perhaps a 46.5-inch belt would work, but I don't know. And maybe this extra tightening would help at the end, because it doesn't seem to get any better. Here's the thing: this thing is tightened. So there's not real much difference here to there. Well, wait, but it's just I would figuring, around 46, 47. I said I really want a 47 and a 46 and a half, and it was like triple the money. These were cheap value craft belts at AutoZone, but it seems to be working. It seems like it'll work out okay. Like I said, the spacing is very good. That's about it. I'm not really happy so much with the function. Um, there's a lot of things I did here that are pretty ingenious for not really planning anything and just going with the flow. Um, but I don't know. I got to talk with the owner, and maybe it could be done at a later date. Because as long as the hoses are done and everything is working, this can be maybe changed up. Considering that I've only been working on this a week, it's not and I've done the whole front end now. I've done the front brake line, done all the work. It really didn't take too much of my time, and ultimately it took me forever to get to the car. So now I'm not saying I'm rushing. I'm not. I put time into it, but it's not too bad. But it's not factory like. That's why the guys that make these aftermarket brackets, they get $500. I should probably take a look at one to see what they do. Like perhaps and I might be covering my mic this whole time. All right. Well, that's what basically where I'm at right now, and let's see if I covered up my mic. All right, so I'm really not happy. I'm happy, but I'm not happy. I bought a 46 and a 47-inch belt. The 46-inch belt is what I have on now. The 47-inch belt was way too loose, and there was no way to make up for it. The 46-inch belt was too tight, and I had to take out the pivot bolt in order to get it on. But no matter where I put this belt, it's kind of tight. Like it's almost all the way out. Now, granted, when I originally had it out, it was all the way out, but I can literally lift this all up while, and it doesn't matter. It still stays tight no matter what position. That's obviously loose here. It gets a little tighter going in, but just to show you, come on, nothing. Some days nothing works. So tighten around there. It's like super tight and nice. It's good. But again, I can still go. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like I can bottom it out. It doesn't matter. So I could leave it bottomed out. It should be fine. I could try the 46.5-inch belt. It was like 3 times the price, so that's why I didn't bother. And it just so happens it falls right there. But this is like doable. But it's not, ultimately what I wanted. Maybe it could be done at a later date, something along those lines. Because as long as I do these lines and get everything going, it's fine. I'm not wasting that much time. But the belt is spinning right, so it's always pulling down, if anything, when you're driving. So like, it doesn't really matter that it goes up. Obviously, if this was welded to it, it wouldn't be able to move that way. But it does need to kind of articulate, but not if I'm leaving it this loose. So it may not be so bad, you know. I don't really know what to think at the moment, and I guess I got to talk to the owner. But I had to put a fan spacer in here, and because it was off just slightly, but the bottom part going to the crank was perfect. Okay, this one was perfect right going down here. You can see. Uh, Come on. All right, so that one is. It might be off of here. That's a bummer because the top here is right on. When the bottom actually looked good before. I wonder if it's just the angle. That's the other thing. I don't know how sturdy this is because it's not actually pushing off. There's like, it looks like there's some, I can pull up on this, and what does that do? There's a little something, but it might be, I wonder what happens, because I had it tighter before, so let me see what happens when I go, I can literally bottom it out so nothing moves, and it's the same tightness. It's maybe a hair tighter, you know, but that might actually help the belt. Yeah, it helped a bit, I think. Come on, phone. I wasn't zooming in on it before, but yeah, this is not really a big deal. That's a long, long way down. When I'm looking at it with my naked eye, it actually looks fine. When I looked at it with the phone now, that's when I had the problem. So I don't know. When I go like this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. You know, it does look fine. And that's the best part is the alignment part. And but I mean, I don't think this metal can bend. Could I have the hole not drilled in the right place? I mean, there's a chance for that. Um, you know, it might be something where I don't know how. I don't know if I have this bolt here tight, but I can make the bolt bigger and go up with it, or just make sure that it's centered properly. You know, something along those lines. But that belt isn't any falling off. Like without the spacer here, it was really off because you could see it was off on the crank pulley on the bottom too. To me, when I looked at it straight on, it's very hard to tell. That looks like it's on target to me, where it was not. Like you could tell at the bottom that like like this is not supposed to be off, and it definitely looked like it was quite a bit off. You know, the factory stuff. You know, so there's always a chance that these factory things are a little bit off from car to car. And there's this extra it's extra thick here in the center to make up for this. That spacing there. The spacing here is, you know, that's the way it's set up. Um, Come on, phone. So there's space right here. That's where this guy comes into play, right here between the pulley here. But it's definitely not really what I wanted. It's not going anywhere. I can tell you that much. Um, it's going to be very hard to say there's something wrong with the alignment, but you know, ultimately, it's not really adjusting where I really wanted it to go. I guess when I bottom out the bolt, it's much more sturdier then, and then there's less chance of it kind of wavering. Um, I mean, I don't know if I should even take out that adjusting nut, because if I take out the adjusting, I'll get it even closer. And I don't think it's going to really change that much. If anything, it'll get looser probably at a certain point. But obviously, this ends up hitting over here at some point. So it is what it is. I just wanted to get this done today, and it took a lot of the day anyway because I couldn't. I had to modify the holes because it was really for a big block Chevy and GM. And it looks like Mopar has a different setup when it comes to the spacing on the 4 bolts on the water pumps, or at least on the slant 6 water pump. But it's it's not bad, but it's not great. So I'm gonna send this to the owner and see what he says.